Okay. Now in the previous video we looked at how to incorporate the two uncertain randomize the two uncertain variables. Okay. Now let's look at the negotiated variable analysis, which is the admissions price that we have to pay to the theaters. So right now it is $8.97. Okay, what if we are able to negotiate and then come up with possibilities? Maybe $6. That's probably very optimistic. $9 would be pessimistic to the extreme, because right now we are paying $8.97, and why would it be $9? But it's just an illustration here. And then we have $7 and $8. Of course, you can have more granular levels of negotiated admission price, but let's look at these four. And if you want to fill in more values in between, that's easily done. So now what we want to do is to run the simulation once with $6 as the admissions price, and then again at $7, again at $8, and again at $9. So that's done by, we have already seen a small example in the introductory models. We do this using risk Simtable, and let's set up the values here. $6, $7, $8, and $9. Right? Okay, let's put currency format here. Okay, and we want, instead of 897, we want risk Simtable, okay, of these. Okay. So now we want to run the simulation and then look at how that affects the output, which is profit per month. Okay, now let's run the simulation. Okay, now the settings, okay, let the settings be like what we had before. Okay, so now we have 4 simulations to run, so we have to change that to 4, right, and simulate. Okay, let's examine the results. We have profit right here, okay, and this is for the first simulation, and then we have a range of buttons to choose from to browse the results. Well, let me close this. All right, so now after having run, saved, and you open the file and you want to browse the results, and you've already closed the results, then you can go back here to explore and then say browse the results, and that will open that same window back again. Okay, let's look at this graph. So this is simulation 1 that corresponds with $6 admissions price to be paid to the theaters, and so in x-axis we have the profit, which is really -30 to -5. Okay. On this side of the y-axis we have number of replications. Remember, we ran 10,000 replications, and then those 10,000 results are binned into these X range value profit values, and then they are plotted here. So this is the actual frequency within that 10,000. On the right side we have the relative frequencies, in other words, probabilities. So going from 0 to 100%. Now, so we have cumulative overlay. If it is none, then you will just simply see the histogram. So that will be probability. Because you don't have to see the probability here, which is just the frequency. It gives you the shape of the frequencies. Now, if you overlay, so that's the probability density function. If you overlay ascending, then you get the probability in percentages starting from 0% and then slowly increasing, and at about minus 10 million it reaches almost all the simulations had profit of minus 10 million or less. And this is for simulation 1. Now you want simulation 2, then you go here to this button, simulation 2. So you still get the same minus 30 to 20. Okay, you can change that. So if you go back to simulation 1, so you want between minus 10 and 25, say for example. Then okay, so 95.7% of the simulations we ran in simulation 1, 95.7% fell within minus 10 and minus 25. In simulation 2, that percentage is 31.7%, most of it falling even below minus 25. Okay. And again, you see the cumulative curve. Simulation 3. Okay, so the distribution shifts even further to the left, and the range that we had set has only 5.1% of the simulations falling in that range, and simulation 4, so it's even less. Now you can put all simulations in one, so it's overlays, so you get simulation 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, it only shows 3 here, so you need to go back to delimiter options. Okay, right click delimiter options and change that to 4. Then you get to see all 4 here. So all of these are for probability density of profit. Okay, so we have looked at individually each simulation and all simulations. And then we can filter, set up filters for what outputs we want to see. So we look at filters later on, and the overlay is what we are seeing here. So there are setups, that formatting options that you can go to. So here is the delimiter that we set, and this is the entire screen where we can set options for x-axis, y-axis and curves. So here the curves, simulation 1, 2 and 3 had solid colors. Now simulation 4 is a line. Okay, so you see that it's not solid color, it's just a line. So you want to change that, you click the auto and change it. Instead of line, so you say bars and click OK. So then that also will become a bar. Okay. And here, on the right side, we can select just legend. So then this gives you only the legend, nothing else. Then you can have legend with some summary statistics for each simulation, and then statistics grid, and here we have one simulation in each column. Okay, so it kind of gets crowded, so you can't see all of that, so you have to expand it a little bit. So while this one gives only summary statistics, the statistics grid gives you a lot more statistics starting from minimum, maximum, and the 90% confidence interval, and so on, all the way to the percentile values going 1 through 99%. And then data grid will give you the actual output value for all the simulations, up to 10,000 simulations for each of them, each simulation 1 through 4. And you have nones, and then you have nothing. So legend with statistics is a good option for us to use. And then we have enabled browsing. Okay, you can scroll through the next if you have more than one, you can scroll through that, or you can export. You can copy the graph and paste it somewhere else. You can print the graph, save the image. You can get the chart into Excel, and you can copy the simulation data, okay, which is that data grid. You can export that to Excel. Right? All right. So let's look at tornado graphs. Okay, so if you take tornado, so you let's see, we select simulation 1. Okay, so then you can select tornado graph to see which input has the most variability contribution to the output, right? So we already discussed this in a previous video. Then we can do contribution to variance. So we look at the regression coefficients in the future. Contribution to variance, again, you can do all simulations. All right. So simulation 1 through 4 for contribution to variance of the output for each of the input variables. Okay. And if you have tornado graph 1, then you get the Spearman rank correlation coefficient. We'll talk about these correlation coefficients later on. So right now let's look at tornado graph for inputs, and we can go through one simulation at a time. Then finally you can look at the inputs themselves. So if you select there are two inputs, so you can select the two inputs and examine the values that we simulated, and again we can have all simulations. Okay, and here you can go to delimiter and change that to 4 to take a look at all 4 simulations here and see the overall distribution of the input values for all 4 simulations. Okay, so that should be 4.